Hey you guys, it's Emily, and today I'm doing a book haul. So I know it's been a while since I've last filmed a book haul. I honestly don't really do them on my channel anymore, mostly because I just never really have much to say about the books that I buy. Like, I buy them because of the hype and I'm always excited to read them. So I'm like, oh, I'm excited to read this. And oh, I bought this because I've heard great things about it. Like, duh, obviously. But today, I thought I would share with you guys some classics that I bought recently because, as a lot of people, one of my goals for the year is to read more classics, and so far this year, I'll be honest, I've been doing great. I've already read 4 classics and we're only like in the first half of the year, so very happy and excited that I'm finally getting around to reading some of the classics that have been on my TBR for ages. But I have bought some beautiful editions of classics because I don't know why classics have such wonderful, gorgeous editions, but here we are. And so I have a couple that I thought I would share with you guys today. I'll be honest, it's probably going to be a short and sweet video because I don't have a lot. I have maybe 6 or 7 books to show you guys today. I just thought that we would have a little chit chat. We're also very casual today. I'm not wearing any makeup because it's hot as hell here and I don't want my makeup to melt off as soon as I step outside. So I just thought that we would do something very casual and chit chat about books. So without further ado, let's dive in. The first book that I'll be sharing today is the only one that I've read so far, and that book is The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. So I have already read this book, like I've mentioned before. I think I read it back in March, and I'll leave the link to the vlog where I read this in the cards above if you guys want to check that out. But this is a gorgeous edition. As you can tell, I love these editions so much. They're illustrated by Mina Lima, and like they have like interactive elements and they have like gorgeous illustrations. Let me find like a cute one. Like, they are absolutely gorgeous. They are quite expensive, like they're about $40 each, but I've been collecting them and they are so pretty. Like, they're so worth the money to me. But I read this back in March, as I said, and I have mixed feelings about this book. I'm glad that I read it. It's a children's classic, and I think it's a great way to get into classics if you're looking for ways to start reading classics, and like me, you're kind of intimidated by them. English is not my mother tongue, and so sometimes I struggle with classics because the language is like much more, I want to say elevated, but that's not the word. I just feel like sometimes it's a little bit more difficult for me to read them because of the language. However, children's classics are a great way to dive into them because usually the language is simplified, and so it's easier for you to understand, especially if English is not your mother tongue. But I love the Jungle Book Disney movie, and so I thought I would enjoy this one, and I really love the live action as well. It's like one of the best live adaptations that we've had so far, but as it turns out, it's quite different from the movie adaptation. I thought the movies were just an adaptation of the book, and while there are some stories about Mowgli, I thought this book was only about him, and as it turns out, it's a collection of short stories. So I think in total there's like 3 stories about Mowgli, and there's only one of them that I actually like, and it's not even one that you can find in the movie. Yeah, I just didn't love the stories about Mowgli. They felt so different from the movie, and I love the movie and like the characters, and so I just didn't feel the way that I thought I would feel reading this. However, I did really like the other stories. Like, there's 4 other stories that revolve around different characters that are not Mowgli and like the gang, and so I really enjoyed those. I thought they were very different and they're probably my favorites. So I don't know, I feel weird about this one, but I still am glad that I read this, and I'm still happy that I have this edition because it's so pretty. But it's not necessarily like one of those classics that I can say it's a new favorite. It's just, I'm glad that I read it, but I just don't feel like this is one that you absolutely have to read unless you want to. Next up, we have another one of those beautiful editions, but this one is The Little Mermaid and Other Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen. Once again, absolutely stunning illustrations. Let me find, like, wonderful, gorgeous, absolutely stunning. I bought this because I thought this was The Little Mermaid. I thought it was only going to be The Little Mermaid. I had not read the part like where it says and other fairy tales. However, I was really happy when I found out that this is a collection of short stories. I think it's all the short stories that Hans Christian Andersen wrote. So we have The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling, The Princess and the Pea, and even The Snow Queen, which inspired Frozen. So I'm very excited because I've read some of the stories. I think like as a child I might have read like The Ugly Duckling and maybe other stories, but I've never read The Little Mermaid, and that was why I got it, because I love the Disney movie. I'm a Disney fan. I think it's an established fact here on my channel. I have been wanting to read the original story. I've heard it's very sad. I don't know how it ends. And so when I saw that this gorgeous edition existed, I just knew that I had to get it. So I'm excited to read this, especially The Little Mermaid. I'm also very happy that The Snow Queen is in there because, like I said, it inspired Frozen, and we can maybe like even use this for like a Disney 24-hour readathon or something like that. I'm just saying. The next book that I have is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I love these editions like so much, and this one especially story is like so mesmerizing. I love the cover. I got this book because one night I couldn't fall asleep, and so I watched Emma from the channel Emmy. She did an ASMR video where she read the picture of Dorian Gray. She read parts of it in an ASMR style, and I just fell in love with the writing. I don't know if it's because she was reading it or if it's the writing itself, but the next morning I just knew that I had to order the book, so here we are. I don't know too much about the plot of this. I think it's about a man who finds a picture, but aside from that, don't know too much about it. But I'm very excited to read it. I know it's a lot of people's favorite, and so I'm curious to see what the hype is all about. Next up, we have some of Jane Austen's work. So I have Pride and Prejudice, Northanger Abbey, and Menhir Park. So let's start with Pride and Prejudice. It is one of those classics that I've read before. I read this when I was 15, maybe 16, and it is one of my favorite classics. I remember loving it when I first read it, and I absolutely loved the 2005 movie adaptation. And I don't know why, but I've been in the mood to reread this. Last year, I set a goal for myself that I wanted to read all of Jane Austen's work, and I still want to do that because I have this big anthology, and initially I was going to read the anthology that I got, but it became so intimidating that I had to buy the mini editions, and these editions are so gorgeous. They are the vintage classic. They're so pretty. I love this one specifically. Like, the colors are just gorgeous, and I am super excited to finally be reading her work, especially Pride and Prejudice, because as I said, it's my favorite so far. I'm really happy, and I'm hoping to read this year. I think this is probably the one that I would start off with because I read 2 of her books so far, and this one is my favorite that I've read of hers, and I feel like reading it would probably be a good introduction and like make me want to read the rest. Next up, we have Northanger Abbey, and I bought this initially because it was one of the cheapest books, and as it turns out, it's quite tiny. It's like 200 something pages, I think, in this edition, and once again, gorgeous cover. But I did a little bit of research on it, and it's one of those that I'm super excited to read now. It's kind of like a parody of a gothic novel. It's set in Bath. All of this just makes me very excited. I've heard lots of great things about this book, and I'm keeping it for the fall season because I've heard it had like quite spooky vibes, so I'm sure I would really enjoy this during the fall season, so I just cannot wait to read this. Finally, we have Menhir Park, and I've heard that this is like people's least favorite Jane Austen's book, so I'm not too looking forward to reading it because I'm just dreading it. I don't know anything about the book. As I said, I just want to read all of Jane Austen's work, so I just thought that I would get this one as well. Finally, I told you this would be a short video. We have Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm kind of cheating because this is not necessarily considered a classic, but it is the modern classic edition, so I just thought that I would include it in this haul. Because look at this beautiful cover. I'm in love. This is actually a reread because I've read it once before. I was 17, 18 maybe. This book is actually a memoir. It's the story of her author, Elizabeth Gilbert, and when the book starts off, she is going through a very rough patch in her life. I think she divorces her husband, she loses her house. Things are just not going great for her, but she decides to take a leap of faith and travel for a year. So she starts off in Italy, where she'll be learning about all the food and finding solace in eating again, and then she goes to India to learn how to pray and kind of like interact with her inner self, and finally she goes to Bali, where she will find love. Not a spoiler, it's in the title. But I know this book is meant for a older audience. I know like a lot of middle-aged women actually like found inspiration in Elizabeth Gilbert, and a lot of people went on a similar quest after she released the book. I think there's like a book that's called Eat, Pray, Love, Make Me Do It, and it's like stories of women who did the same thing as Elizabeth Gilbert. But this book kind of has a special place in my heart because when I first read it, I remember really connecting with the author, even though we were very different in age. I don't know if it was a writing, I don't know if it was a story, but I remember connecting with what she was going through, even though I was much younger at the time. I think this book means a lot to me because I feel like it pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I think it is one of the reasons why I went abroad. If you didn't know, I studied abroad in England for a semester in fall 2017, so like 3 years ago. Wow, it's been 3 years already. I think if I hadn't read this book, I wouldn't have applied to study abroad. This book kind of gave me the kick that I needed because I remember wanting to travel so badly when I was younger. I never really had the opportunity to travel with my family, and we had gone to like the US a couple of times, but always like close to home. But this book kind of like gave me the kick that I needed. As I said, it sparked something in me. When I studied abroad, I had never been on a plane. I had never left the continent. I had never been on my own before, and it was like a brand new experience for me. It changed me in many ways. It shaped me into the person that I am today, and I think I owe this book a lot because, as I said, I feel like it kind of gave me, maybe not directly, but indirectly, I feel like it had a big impact on my life. And so I really want to reread it now to see if I still feel the same about it and if it will have as big of an impact as it had the first time that I read it. I also remember reading a French version, so a translated version of the book, and I really want to read it in its original form now. I think it's time for me to reread it, especially since I'm doing books around the world, which if you didn't know, it's my new video series where I read books set in different cities, countries, and continents, and I feel like this would be perfect for maybe an episode or something, or just for fun on the side. Doing that series really made me want to reread this, so I just thought this would be a perfect time to get a beautiful edition and maybe read it this year. So that's it for my little book haul. Like I said, quite a short and sweet video, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I would love to know in the comments down below what your favorite classics are. I'm always looking for new ones to add to my TBR. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give this a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more content from me. And I guess that's it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!